Hi everyone, I'm Simon from Masson's Healthcare, and we've got Anton from Masson's Healthcare today with us as well. Thanks everyone that's managed to join our Facebook live session on Omega CAD/CAM and Alpha Design Liners using Omega CAD software. The focus of this presentation will be discussing the features and the benefits of using Omega CAD software to design custom profile Alpha Design Liners with the support from Masson's Healthcare. We represent WillowWood, and WillowWood are the manufacturers of Alpha Design Liners. We have Anton discussing the features and the functions of Omega today, and I'll pass the stage to him.
Thanks, Simon. As Simon said, my name's Anton. Hi, everyone. So today we're going to cover Alpha Design Liners and go through the features and functions of the Alpha Design Liners. We'll then we'll start with a PowerPoint presentation, then go into a live demo on Omega and show the features through the software, and then we'll end with also some orthotic functions that Omega has, so with AFOs, cranials, and just show the orthotic capabilities of Omega also. So let's start. So in this workshop and webinar, we're going to cover what is an Alpha Design Liner, the interface materials that an Alpha Design Liner can be made from. We'll go through the features of the Alpha Design Liner, creating and ordering an Alpha Design Liner, and also some educational resources and summaries. So what is an Alpha Design Liner? An Alpha Design Liner is a custom profile liner where the patterning, placement and the thickness of the interface material are specific to an individual. In other words, we are making the inside shape of the liner follow the contours of the patient's stump. Why should we use an Alpha Design Liner? So we can accommodate the residual limb shapes, sizes and tissue integrity that fall outside the scope of an off-the-shelf liner. And it also allows us not to use heel cups and gel cups and pad adjustments. So they're available for transtibial and transfemoral amputations. So what choice have we got with the liner interface materials? We have the original and the classic TPE gel. We also have the hybrid TPE gel. And with these two gel materials, we can have a choice of thickness from 3 to 25 mil, anywhere in the liner. WillowWood have also introduced their Duo technology, which is a combination of silicone and classic gel. So we have the classic gel on the outside of the liner, on the inside of the liner, and the alpha silicone on the outside of the liner for durability. This is a fabricless liner. The only difference between this liner and the classic and the hybrid gel is that the minimum thickness is 4 millimeters. It can also has to be used with the one gel sock for wicking for vacuum. So with the fabric-free exterior, there's no need to reflect the proximal liner for transtibial vacuum or suction application. It is also a good option to use with the WillowWood 1 system for transtibial and transfemoral for vacuum or suction sockets, but I must reiterate it has to be used with the one gel sock to get your vacuum wicking. So the one gel sock is included with every Duo liner. It helps compress the limb tissue. As I said earlier, it provides an air wick. It protects the liner material and the integrity of the liner, and it can be trimmed to a specific height for vacuum application, so It doesn't necessarily have to come full length up the thigh, yeah, so it can be trimmed to just above the socket trim lines. So with Alpha design liners, what are they used for? They're used for irregular shapes. They help maintain the total surface contact between the residual limb and the liner interface material. They're good for deep scarring and invaginations. They're available, as I said, in the classic or the hybrid gel, and with the select or max fabric, and they're also available in a locking or a cushion liner. As we said, we can have any thickness down from 3mm through to 25mm anywhere in the liner. So here are some examples of where the Alpha design liner can be used. So in the top left photo, we have deep scarring and invagination, which can be pulling on the bone. So Alpha design liners, by backfilling that area with gel, can help reduce pressure in that area. The second left, we're going from the left, so the second photo on the left, again, you can see how there's a lot of irregularities in this stump shape, and what can happen is, yeah, the invaginations can be filled up to 25mm in certain areas, and it can create a more uniform shape to the liner and a more uniform distal end to allow you to make a more comfortable socket. They're also used for very short stumps. Often with a short stump, in an off-the-shelf liner, the thickness, the distal thickness of a liner can sometimes be 6 or 9mm, and that tapers up to 3 or 4mm in some off-the-shelf liners, but where that taper occurs in short stumps is up behind the knee. So it can create a lot of discomfort when someone is sitting for long periods. So with the Alpha design liners, we can thin out the back area of the liner down to 3mm thickness, so we don't get any bulk of gel in the liner when sitting. And the last photo on the right is also, so for SINES patients or knee dysartics, where you've got a bulbous end, we can create kind of a stovepipe kind of feature in the liner to allow for a better fit of the socket, and also for easier donning and doffing for the patient for the socket for these type of shapes. So as you can see, again, we'll start on the left with a knee dysartic. We can fill in the gel on the medial wall and the lateral wall and make that area quite uniform and square. The pictures on the right again are showing the SINES features, again with the stovepipe. Here we've got a transtibial from lateral view, and you can see where the arrow is pointing that we can thin the posterior wall, and we've also backfilled the invagination and the anterior distal end to reduce pressure in that area. So how do we create an Alpha design liner? There's a few options available. There is the Alpha Design app, which is a free app on the Apple App Store. That can be used with the iPad and structured sensor scanner, and we will show a short video on that a bit later and go into the app in a bit more details. And an electronic file can be sent via Amiga or other scanners which produce an STL, an OBJ or an AOP file, or a negative cast can be sent with an order form to us at Massons. We would fill or scan that cast internally. We would fill it, or scan it internally. We would then scan the positive if we're filling it, and then we would create the electronic shape from that. So all the information we asked for, which we'll cover a bit later, is for bony landmarks, anterior orientation as a reference. That's an important feature. Sometimes we receive electronic shapes and there's no reference to anterior, and sometimes we cannot work out where anterior is with some of the shapes that we see. With Alpha design liners, if you order it with a classic gel, it's basically a 5 working day turnaround for WillowWood to make the liner. If we're using the hybrid gel, it's 10 days, and also the design liner with Duo technology is 10 working days. So what that means is, if we sent a scan to WillowWood on a Monday, it would most likely, if it was classic gel, it would most likely leave that Friday from WillowWood back to Australia, or the following Friday if it was Alpha, the hybrid or the Duo technology. So it just depends on when we send that file to WillowWood during the week on when it would leave. So we're looking anywhere from a 1 week to a 3 week turnaround to get it back out to us in Australia. So the Design Liner app, a lot of people have the structure scanner now as a tool in their workshop. So this helps streamline the ordering process. You can scan transtibial or transfemoral residual limbs, where you can take photos of the residual limb. You can add clinical notes to the scan for us, and also complete the order form and submit all this in the one place and we would receive an email through to Massons with the scan and all the information needed to help design the liner with you. So you require from the App Store the following: the Structure Sensor Calibrator, the Design Liner app, and the Design Liner app is compatible with iOS 8.2 and above software. So we'll just skip through this part because setting up the structure scanner is, you've gone through that step. Calibrating again, you probably have gone through that. If you haven't, if you're new to all this, there's instructions available on the WillowWood website on how to do all this when you're first receiving your structures scanner. And you've got to enter the practitioner and facility information, enter new patient information from the patient list, and select the area to be scanned. So the first screen is setting up the practitioners. So if there's multiple practitioners, you can set up multiple practitioners in the app for your facility. So you enter all the information, your practitioner's first name, last name, where you're from, your email address, street address, and obviously city, country. So everywhere where it's a required field, you need to enter and save the information to go on to the next screen. Then we go and add the patient information. So basically you can search for patients in the app, or you can create new patients by selecting the new patient button in the bottom left hand corner. Again, with a new patient, we need the required information to proceed to the next part of the process. So we choose the side and the amputation level, whether that be transtibial or transfemoral, and left or right. And we press the start button on the right hand side to start the scanning process. So I'm just going to switch screens now, and we'll just go to a video, and I'll just see if this works. I've just got to close the minimize this, and then we can go to the video here.
So now we're ready to scan. Tap the green Start button on the screen. The shape will be covered in white on the screen as it is scanned. Move around the limb to capture the entire surface so that the limb is entirely covered in white on the screen. If you make a mistake during your scan, or if you notice that there's a hole in the model, you can tap the blue button with the circular arrow on it to restart your scan. If you see error messages such as the one shown here, adjust the position of the structure sensor until the message disappears. When you're done scanning, tap the orange Done button. So now let's take a look at the things you can do with that completed scan. Drag your finger across the model screen to view the scan from various angles. If you are not satisfied with the scan, tap the Rescan button to delete that scan and start over. If you are satisfied with the scan, you can now start working on providing all of the details that will help us create a design liner for you. This involves these icons in the lower left corner. We'll start by tapping this icon here to add some landmarks. Rotate the model to get the view that you want. Then press and hold in the desired location until the red dot appears. Continue adding landmarks as desired. You can tap the trash can icon to delete landmarks if you like. You'll be asked to confirm that you really do want to delete. When you're done, tap the landmarks icon on the bottom left. Next, tap the screenshot icon, which lets you take a screenshot of the scan shape and draw on it. Make sure that you have the model rotated around to the view that you want, then click the icon, and you'll see the screenshot appear. Tap the icon that looks like a pencil in the upper right to draw on the screenshot. Tap the icon that looks like a floppy disk if you want to save what you've done. If you don't like the way you drew something, you can tap the erase icon, erase it, and then draw something else. When you're done, tap the save icon, then exit out of the screen to go back to the model screen. If you want to take a photo of the limb or of anything else that might be relevant to the creation of the liner, tap this camera icon here, then position the iPad to get the shot you want, and tap the white button. If you like the photo, just tap Use Photo down here. You'll have the same icon as you had before for the screenshot, so you can draw on the photo just like you did for the screenshot, then save and exit. Finally, let's tap this Scan Notes icon, which lets us type some details about how we should make this liner. Tell us what you want the base thickness of the gel to be, and tell us the areas where you want thicker or thinner gel. For example, as we see here, you might want a base gel thickness of 7 millimeters with a distal pad that is 12 millimeters thick. This is where you can communicate all of that to us. When you're done typing, exit the screen to go back to the model screen. We really do encourage you to use these options available to you to provide us details on the limb and on exactly how you want the gel to be placed in the liner. You could zip through this process with a quick scan and a couple of words of direction, but you really have the opportunity here to send us quite a few specifics through both words and images about how we can create a liner that addresses your patient's unique needs. So we really want to make sure that you're aware of all these cool things that you can do with this app. Now, at this point, if you happen to have a patient with bilateral amputations that are transtibial on both sides or transfemoral on both sides, you can tap this icon to initiate the scan of the other side. If the patient is transtibial on one side and transfemoral on the other side, though, you will have to complete the scan and then go back and start a new scan from the beginning for the other side. If you're done with all the options on the screen, tap this green Done button so that you can fill out the order form. Tapping the Done button takes you to this screen, where you can see all the scan files, pictures, and screenshots for this liner. You have another opportunity here to initiate a scan of the other side of a patient with bilateral amputations. Just tap here. But as before, this is only applicable if the patient needs 2 transtibial liners or 2 transfemoral liners. Otherwise, you'll need to complete this process for this liner, then go back and start from the beginning for the other side. You can tap the thumbnail of a completed scan if you'd like to go back and look at that scan again, and you can click the camera icon here if you'd like to take more photos. Now let's tap Order Forms here to access the order form. Many of the fields will already be populated with the information you've already entered, so all you'll need to do here are to fill in the fields that are highlighted. Fields indicated with an asterisk are required. Tap here to save the file, here to delete, and here to return to the previous screen. If there are any items on the screen that you don't want to submit with the order, tap this icon here, then select the images you don't want, and tap the trash can icon. Now you're ready to submit the scan file, the order form, and the screenshots and photos. Just tap the cloud icon here. You'll see a message confirming that the submission was successful. If you have any questions or concerns with your order, please call us at 800-848-4930.
Okay, so that just covers the scanning app and the Design Liner app. So we'll go back to the PowerPoint presentation now. So basically the video covered everything in these few slides, so we'll skip through these slides and yeah, we'll find the video is a lot more self-explaining than the slides. So we saw how we are submitting the order from the screen. It's a handy tool to have all the photos and information in the one spot when you're submitting, compared to some of the other free apps where they're just a scanning app and they're not specifically written for the prosthetic and orthotic industry. So yeah, when you do press the submit button, an email comes through to us at Masson's Healthcare, and then we need to convert that scanning file to an STL file, and then we would organise with the practitioner who has sent the order a shared screen type design session, so you can help us create the liner that you need for your patient. So Design Liner in Amiga. So basically, if you do have Amiga, you can create Design Liners yourself, and at Masson's Healthcare we're happy to run training and workshops on how you can create the Design Liners yourself. If you don't have Amiga, like I said earlier, we would organise a meeting, a web meeting, and share our screen and go through the process with you, and then submit the order once you're happy with it. So there, yeah, with the additional resources and information available, there's a lot more information on the WillowWood webpage, on our Masson's Healthcare webpage, and we've also created a Design Liner webpage specifically relating to information on Design Liners, both for the amputee and the practitioner. So we'll touch on that a bit later in the presentation, and then yeah, can show you kind of some of the information that's there for yourself and for your patients. So yeah, now we'll switch to Amiga, and we might just go and bring in a couple of shapes and show you the process on how to create a Design Liner. So now we're in the software. Sorry about that, I just dropped the camera, or caused the camera to drop. We've got a bumpy, rocky table. So what we do is we add patient. So So we have to put in the required fields. So, yep, first name, last name, male or female, date of birth. Unfortunately, yeah, it's in US dates, so we have to put the month first. And the patient ID if you use a unique identifier or something like that. Then we press create, and then we bring in whether it's a left or right, transfemoral or transtibial. So we'll start with a knee dysartic patient for this. Then we press save, and that brings us into this patient information folder, which you can store multiple shapes of the patient. So if they're a bilateral amputee, if they were an AFO on one side and they're an amputee on the other side, you can bring in different modules into their patient card. So we would click on Alpha Design Liner, and if you did have a Amiga and a scanner, you could scan the residual limb with the scanner by clicking on this icon. If not, we would import a file that we've created, an electronic file, which would have either been sent or created from scanning a cast. So we bring in a file here. We can edit it. So this one's been created before, so there's not much editing to do. We need to align the shape. So we can align it in 3 different views. You've got the option of cleaning the shape up. We try not to clean it up too much unless there's some plaster lines and things like that, because we don't want to lose any of the definition of where we need to fill and add gel and build up. We can add some landmarks for references, so you can take circumference measurements and MLs and APs, but for design liners we're not too interested in that sort of thing, where you would use all that information if you're designing a socket for over the design liner or a liner. We can check our circumferences, so yeah, if we've done by measurement, we can check circumferences and adjust the circumferences. You can choose different levels, either 25mm intervals or 50mm intervals, and we can adjust by percentage or amount. We can change the length as well. If you've got a length measurement and you're not happy with your scan, you can adjust the length measurement. And we can add material and remove material. So when we go to the design of the liner, we need to put in these 2 measurements. So we need a circumference measurement, which is less than 30 centimeters from the distal end. So if we change that to 300 and then use that as our circumference measurement, you can find out your circumference measurement by going to the level on the right at 30 centimeters or 300mm, and then putting in your circumference of 472. And then there's some questions here that we've got to answer, and then you can start designing your liner. So we can work out whether it's a cushion, locking, or the duo fabric. You can choose the gel type, which is classic or hybrid gel. We can choose the fabric. So the original fabric is the green-grey fabric that WillowWood liners have started with. The spirit fabric is, call it like it's a furry fronted type fabric. The spirit fabric is good for people that have got less hand strength and have more difficulty in rolling on a liner. It is also Velcro friendly, that's why I call it a furry liner, because the outer surface of the fabric is like your loop Velcro. So you can put hook Velcro strips in the socket to help with further suspension. But the main feature of this fabric is that it is a lot easier for the patient to don and doff. The Max fabric is a very robust fabric as well, and provides good compression around the stump. And then our Select fabric is our fabric where we have the two-way stretch panel anterior over the front of the knee, and then the rest of the fabric only stretches in one direction, and that stops elongation and pistoning of the stump in the liner. With the different liners, you can choose different colours. So if we chose original here, we've basically only got one colour. If we choose Select fabric, you've got the choice of grey or taupe. And then choose a design liner. So if you have Amiga, the customer, or if we're doing the liner for you, the customer will design the liner. So then it brings up a whole new range of steps. So if there is a lot of invaginations and that, we can start by filling those areas. So we can change the size of the tool bit that we're filling with. So if you've got a deep invagination, you want to start with a smaller tool bit to get into the crevices first, and then you can kind of increase the radius of your tool bit. So I'm not sure if you can see on the video here, but there's some shading. I'll try and see if I can get that. I think that's the best view to see. You can see where we've added the gel, and it's telling us that the thickness of gel that we have put in that area. So we've gone up to 12-13 mil gel in that area. So also, if on the previous in the capture stack, if you weren't able to capture the invagination as deep as you would, you could make that area a bit deeper by using the remove area tool. So then we basically just start with the base thickness. So if you want to start with a 6mm liner, you would start with a 6mm base thickness. Then we can play around with the distal thickness. So anything below this red line is what that thickness is. So if we made that 10mm, anything below this line is the actual thickness of the liner. Anything between the two red lines is a transition, and then anything above the red line is what your base thickness is. And you can move these lines around as well to where that base thickness is. This is handy for short stumps. So if you want a base thickness of 9mm, a distal thickness of 9mm, you would select 9mm. Proximal thickness, again, we can go down to 3mm if you want, and then we can move these lines around. The closer you get these lines, the more of a distortion that happens, so try to leave a bit of space through that. Medial thickness obviously can be skipped, or yeah, you can change the medial thickness of the wall. Again, we can reduce or increase that. And then this is this tick tool it may not, so it squares up a certain area for you. So I squared up this whole wall here and through here. So that's a handy tool to have, and especially when you're viewing it from this side. And you can preserve the medial wall if you didn't want it too thick medially. Comfort cuff is more for AKs, and it's when you're reflecting the liner over the socket, so it stops all the gel picking up fluff from your material and things like that also. Then we can add more gel to any area. So if you're looking at the liner and you want to add a bit more gel, you can. This will show up when you've reached your maximum of 25mm. So that kind of alerts you that you've got your maximum of 25mm in that area. And we can also remove gel, so if you know, if you're finding that one area is a bit too thick or you're not happy with that area, you can take a bit more gel off in that area. Here we reviewed basically the liner, so we can check in different views of where we want to remove the gel. And if we're not happy with something, we can just press undo. So it's good just to look in every plane, really. And if you don't need the gel in that area, it's best to try and make it as thin as possible. and as uniform as possible. So here it's saying the thickness of the gel that you've got in different areas. And we can preview it, and then we choose the liner size. So this is suggesting, it's saying WillowWood's got a formula in there which from the measurements it's suggesting the size, but you can, so the green means it's in the size range in those different length measurement areas of circumference. But you can play around and just check what a large would look like, or a medium. See, we're starting to see some red, so it means you're outside the circumference range. Medium plus, so distally we're a bit small, so it's suggesting a medium plus wide. So once you're happy with that, if it was a locking liner, you'll choose the umbrella size. And then, yeah, you would head to the fabrication stack. So this is where we would enter the quantity of liners, 1 or 2, depending if it's a duplicate, we can order duplicate liners. We choose Australia. Basically put in all the fields here, and then once it's all filled in and everyone's happy with it, we send that off to WillowWood to start fabricating. So I'll move out of this and we'll go to a BK. So again, we import a file. And yeah, just go check what the file was, called design liner. Desktop, there it is. So here, yeah, we've got a distal end with some invaginations there. So So here we can add a bit of material because the bottom of that scan didn't scan enough. That was from a cast fill. And yeah, you can also remove some material in this screen if you need to make that invagination deeper for the gel to sit in. Again, we design it, so we've got a length measurement up to 40 centimetres, so from the distal end just written that measurement down, so we've got and then yeah, we choose a liner style. So if we choose locking here, gel type, hybrid, fabric, max, it's only available in buff, and then we will design it. So here we're filling these indentations again. Oops, undo there, didn't want that up there. You can see the extra gel thickness being built. Built up in that area. And we've got our base thickness again. We can start with 6 mil. Distal thickness. If you don't want to change it, you don't have to change it. Proximal thickness, it's good to kind of try and bring that in quite low. And yeah, posterior thickness again, can bring that in, especially on short stumps, can bring that in as small as 3 mil. Here we can add more gel, so if there's an area that you wanted to, just say you wanted to do a build up over the fib head or something like that, you could do a fixed build up, 3 mil, and we could create like you could create a donut relief there. Over the fib head area for the bone to sit in. We can add more gel. Just make it more uniform. Yeah, if you're not happy with anything, we can remove it. And then we can also remove gel to fix those points up. just to make that area a more uniform shape. And take the back wall down more. So we're guided by you with what modifications you want for your patient and yeah, what you would think would work. If you want us to design the liner, we follow your notes that you send in the online form or the PDF form that you email through to us. So again, once you're happy, you review the liner, we look at the liner size, and then we confirm the umbrella size. So we can allow WillowWood to determine the size of the umbrella, choose a standard umbrella or choose a small umbrella. And again, then we go to the ordering screen, which we send off to WillowWood. So that kind of shows the Amiga software for design liners. How are we going for time? I think we've got about 10 minutes. So I will quickly show you guys the web page. So we created a web page here, Designer Liner, which has information about the design liners. What are alpha design liners? So yeah, we'll break it down into 3 sections. About alpha design liners, if you're a provider, information for the provider, and also information for an amputee. So with providers, we've got different links to different forms. So with our transtibial forms, if you click on the view, it brings up our BK design line order form, which you can fill in all the information. Anything that's got kind of a red asterisk, we kind of like that information there. It asks you the quantity of the liners, whether you're locking or cushion or duo, the fabric, the gel type, everything that's kind of we ask in the software. Again, the 2 measurements are important, and also whether it's a left or a right, and any distinct markings and all that you are going to mark on the cast. So on the cast, if we are filling a cast, if you can mark as much information as you would like captured into the scan. Again, for AK, if you click on that icon, it brings up the AK order form. We've got the videos, resources to videos. So yeah, it's a good handy tool for practitioners and for amputees wanting to know more about design liners. So with amputees, basically we're just explaining the process and what design liners can be worn on, what type of stump shapes, and how they benefit over an off-the-shelf liner. So for practitioners, we do have a provider list here. So basically this lists anyone that has done design liner training with Masson's Healthcare or has an Amiga system. So these facilities are facilities which have used and been trained on alpha design liners. If you're a practitioner or a practice that would like to be on this list, contact us at Masson's Healthcare and we can organise that training for you and add you to our list, because the more facilities that we have on here, the more choice our patients have. So yeah, that's basically a summary of our webpage. So we'll go back to the software now, and we will just quickly touch on some orthotic applications. So with our orthotic applications, we have, I'll see if there's an AFO in here, yep. So we've got an AFO in here. Basically, it's got a bank of different scans that we've already brought in. So again, we have the capture screen, the design stack, and then the fabrication stack. So with the we've got a landmark screen, so we can basically look at all the landmarks. This is a scan of something that's already been modified, so I'll try and find something that hasn't. So when a scan comes in, we can set the so if the foot's a bit plantarflex, we can set the initial angle and then make our adjustments from that area. Anything with a cog on here, it's worth clicking on that cog and just seeing if there's any further modification tools that you can have. So we've got rings here, so we can adjust where the axis of the goniometer is. So we can place it more in a more anatomical area to do our movement of the correction of plantar flexion and dorsiflexion. So yeah, we can basically set design stacks up here, so we can create different design stacks that we call design stacks. They're kind of a replica of what you would do with plaster. So how you would modify your model by plaster or by hand, we kind of write those steps down and we create a design stack here in Amiga, and you can follow those stacks to help you modify the AFO. So you've got your tools where you can correct your inversion and eversion, pronation, supination. We can correct that. So we can add material for build-up. So with build-ups, we can draw an outer contour and an inner contour and do a build-up. Or we can do it by freehand. So if we want to do a build-up on the lateral, you can choose a fixed depth. We can say it's going to be a 4mm build-up. And then we can draw So you've got your colour mod over here, so you can turn that on or off. I like having it on, so you get to see what your modifications you've done. Always save. Yep, software can crash, so it's always good to save your modifications, like with any program, whether we use accounting program, MyOb or Office 365 or something. Get used to saving. Toe box tools, these are quite handy. We can flatten a toe box. We can extend it. And yeah, we can also change the height of it. And then we can add other tools. These are all your AFO tools. So we've got our dorsal opening, so we can square up the whole foot area. We've got flares, so we can put in our flares, and we've got our anterior opening like that. So if you did want to check our height measurements from floor to where your flare is, we've also got a caliper tool which allows you to choose any points. And then that gives you a measurement. Here it's got 37.4 centimetres or 374 mil. So that's if you want to take specific measurements of foot length or height. Any of these tools can be renamed, so we can choose add material tool, and we can call it fib head build up, and then we can choose whether you want it before or after the current step, and also what view. So fib head, so you would choose lateral, then you would add it, and then it shows up here in your design stack. So yeah, these are all tools, general modification tools, which can be renamed, and these are all AFO specific tools. So when we go into cranials, there'll be different tools for cranials. When we go to transtibials, there's different tools. These tools here are generally in every area of the software, and they can be renamed. How are we going for time?
Yeah,
Do you want to show cranials, or?
okay. Yeah.
I'll quickly bring in so with cranials, we're at the end of the design stack here, so we will start at the top. So basically what we're trying to do is correct the low point. So what we do is we copy the area of the high point, we mirror it to the low point side, and then we contour that, and we do that for the back and for the front. So we use these area symmetry tools. So for the front, again, we copy the high point side and mirror it over to the other side to create a high point on that side to allow the skull to grow into that void. You've got other tools where we can create kind of compression around different areas, especially sub-occipital area. We can help stop rotation when it's on the head. Trimline tools, we can basically create trim lines on how you want it all cut off, and we also can create the top trim line and the seam. So if you do label all your landmarks in the capture stack, if we labelled all these landmarks here, it would give us a CVA index measurement and reporting, which you can use for comparison scans and that. So with you can print a cranial summary report and a cranial comparison report. So this won't have a lot of information in it because we haven't labelled our landmarks. But if you did put all that information in, you would get all the measurements available, and also the modifications that you do on that design. And then you get 6 photos of different views. And again, you would, if you had a overlay to compare it to, of one scan to another, you would get a comparison view here in this report with the current model and the model you're comparing it to, and the change in size and volume. Yeah, so have we got any questions, or anyone got any more information, or is there anything you want to cover, Simon? Or?
I thought I would take this opportunity to focus on what the devices Anton's talked about, what they actually look like. This is an example of a design liner. So from the outside it looks like what you would commonly see off the shelf, but one of the key differences is how the liner looks on the inside, which we'll show now in terms of the profile. So you can see the liner has different thicknesses in different areas of the liner, depending on the shape of the residuum or the patient's remaining limb. And in this sample, it's a cushion liner. So this is just to give you an idea of how the liner looks on the outside and on the inside, or how it could look. So that's a design liner. For those out there new to orthotics and prosthetics, this is an example of an AFO, or an ankle foot orthosis. This one's been made by us here in Melbourne at Masson CFAB, and you can design using Omega CAD/CAM to then allow fabrication of a device like this. And then this is an example of a cranial helmet for a child. So I wanted to take the opportunity to give you an example of those three kind of devices. Three of a number of custom ONP, or orthotic and prosthetic devices, we can make here, and that are made in our industry globally. So I think, yeah, we can wrap things up now. Thanks, Anton, again for sharing your experiences and going through the options with Omega, designing custom profile design liners from WillowWood. And we also touched on the orthotic applications you can use with Omega CAD/CAM. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to us at Masson's Healthcare directly. We're pretty flexible with communication. Yeah, I don't have anything else to add. Do you, Anton?
No, just thanks. Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks Simon and the Masson's team in the background to help put this on, and yeah, we'll try and create a recording of this as well, and so people that weren't able to see it or missed it or want to review some information in it, we'll yeah, have a recording up, and yeah, but feel free to reach out and ask any questions on design liners, or on any of Masson's kind of custom fabrication. I suppose yeah, anything that relates to Omega CAD/CAM and the whole process of integrating that into your workflow. Thanks, and bye.
See ya.